Okay, hi everyone. So I'm going to talk you through what to revise for democracy in Scotland. So in the exam, you have to do 3 questions on this topic. So area 1 is power and decision making. So question 1 could be, what are the key features of a democracy? So in Scotland, democracy, how does it work and what can people do? So one key feature is the right to vote. For example, in elections to the Scottish Parliament, like on May the 7th this year, and also the right to protest, join a pressure group. You can campaign on key issues, like Just Stop Oil might protest about oil being produced too much, or you might have people protesting about the war in Iran and Palestine. The second one is devolved powers of the Scottish Parliament. Now, devolved powers, it might say devolved matters. Devolved matters and devolved powers are the same. So basically, what are the devolved powers of the Scottish Parliament? Education is one devolved power. In Scotland, we control the education system, the Parliament. They control the Qualifications Scotland. So, for example, recently the Parliament changed the name from SQA to Qualifications Scotland. Another devolved powers is healthcare. We've got the Scottish NHS, and the Parliament allocate a budget towards spending on hospitals and doctors. And as you know, the example is in Scotland, we get free prescriptions, but England, they don't. And another devolved power is tourism. So the Scottish Parliament can allocate budget or funding to create adverts to promote Scotland as a tourist destination. So for example, Americans come to Scotland and is worth over 10 billion to the Scottish economy. They spend money on services. And the final topic in this first section is John Swinney currently is our First Minister. What can he do? What are his powers and why is he important? So you need to know what he does, describe his job as First Minister, but also explain his job as FM and why it's important. So every Thursday he must answer questions at question time. He responds in a strong manner. That gives him power. He's important. For example, the recent ferry criticism about the cost of ferries, he had to respond to that in an assertive, strong way. Also, John Swinney can choose his cabinet. He can choose ministers who help him run the country. So as Minister of Education, Minister of Health, and that gives John Swinney power as First Minister. That makes him important. So for example, you've got his cabinet, you've got ministers, and he makes those appointments. Kate Forbes is a Deputy First Minister, and John Swinney gave her that position. And another one that John Swinney does as First Minister is he develops policy ideas. So policy ideas on health, education, transport. He leads them with the SNP and he gives them to Parliament, who then pass his ideas into a law. Another thing that John Swinney might do, he might go abroad to other countries and make deals with other countries. He might go to America or Germany and make trade deals that will benefit people in Scotland through the creation of more jobs. The second topic in Scottish politics is participation. So, what are the rights and responsibilities of Scottish citizens? The right to vote, Scottish Parliament, local council elections. Responsibility is to use your vote wisely and don't pressurise other people into voting for who you vote for. The right to protest, pressure groups, demonstrations, marches, but responsibility is to not use undemocratic tactics like violence, like causing mayhem in the street, setting fire, vandalising property. Another right is the right to free speech. You can write letters to MSPs. You can publish in newspapers a topic or an article criticising the government, the SNP, but the responsibility is you can't slander, like you can't make something up, you can't tell lies. That would be undemocratic, and obviously against the law. The next topic in participation is citizens in Scotland, how they take part in politics. But the question might be also how people take part, why some might take part more in politics, and why some might participate less. So you can take part in politics by voting, by joining a party, by being a candidate, by protesting, by joining a pressure group. Why do some people take part more? Better education, the more qualifications. They understand politics more, so they might take part more. Also, they might care more about politics. They might watch TV. They might follow a party. They might join a party. And because of that, they want to take part in politics. But also, some people might not take part. They live in poverty. They see no point in voting. No one cares about them. Some might believe politicians just lie to get votes and don't vote. Young people don't vote that much. Voter turnout is under 40% for 18 to 24-year-olds in UK elections because they can't connect with older maybe MPs or MSPs. So participation, you need to know how people take part in politics, why some might take part more, and why some might take part less. So in my revision book of answers on Scottish politics, there's all of that. The final topic on this section on participation is elections and campaigning. So what can individuals do, political parties do, and the media do in an election campaign? So on May the 7th, there's an election to the Scottish Parliament. So people, individuals, can hand out leaflets, advertise in a party. They can do door to door, knock on doors, and try to persuade people to vote for the party they support. They can put up posters or banners in their garden advertising the party they support. They can attend party meetings, SNP, Labour, Conservative, Lib Dem, about their candidates, about their policies, and find out more about their election campaign. Also, what can parties do? So what can parties do to get votes? So as I've taught you, before elections on TV, there's party broadcasts. After the news, about 6:30, every party is given time to advertise their policies on a video called a broadcast. Also, parties can basically, again, get people together with political parties, with the candidate, and go door to door, hand out leaflets. They can drive about in like buses or with loudspeakers and advertise their party. Also, political parties can use social media in election campaigns to connect to voters. Facebook, Snapchat, Twitter, they can advertise their policies. Like for young people who can vote, who are 16, social media is a big way to engage young people. And the final bit is the media. So what can the media do in an election campaign? So the media has three main sections. You've got newspapers, you've got TV, and you've got social media. So newspapers in an election campaign can support a party. So newspapers can show bias or take sides. So they might support Labour and publish articles that support Labour, like Vote Labour. TV does broadcasts, so there's debates between leaders on TV. So the main leaders, SNP, Labour, Lib Dem, Conservative, they live debate on TV. People can watch it, and if you don't know who to vote for, like if you're a floating voter, then you can watch the debates and make a decision on who to vote for. And social media, I just told you in the last bit that social media is a very, very important way to engage younger people. So parties put videos on, maybe put like clips or reels on about the policies, about the candidates, visiting places, maybe policies on social media, policies to help young people, better transport connections. Maybe they can talk about maybe the chance to get more jobs and so on. Okay, so that's the first two sections on this video. So power and decision making and participation. On the next bit, the wee video, another video you'll see beside, I'll go on influence, representation, and voting systems. Okay? Okay, so the video is on this page for the other topic. So, influence. So, influence. We've studied the media and pressure groups. We don't do trade unions. So, in the exam, trade unions, it might give you a choice between pressure groups and trade unions. Choose pressure groups. So, the media. Remember, the media is made up of newspapers, television, and social media. The question I asked you about, like the media, what does the media do in a democracy? What is the role of the media? So newspapers, they educate people about politics. They can support political parties, take sides, inform people about election campaigns. Social media, their role is to act as a platform for parties to connect to voters. So parties have Facebook pages, Snapchats, Twitter. They can connect to younger voters. They can get asked questions. They can post videos of policies. And TV, its role, again, is to inform the public, mainly through maybe live debates between politicians and also through party political broadcasts. Also, in a democracy, why is the media important? So, newspapers, why are they important? So, newspapers can basically inform people of key policies, of key events in an election campaign, and that's good because it makes sure that people are more aware about politics. TV, again, can also educate people about politics. So TV is a way for parties to give their points of view in live debates and broadcasts. And social media, as I said before, is important because it's a way for young people to connect with political parties. Go to meetings that can advertise on Facebook or Snapchat. They can put on like reels advertising the policies that young people can look at. So the media in a democracy, Scottish politics, what is the role of the media and why is it important in a democracy? Pressure groups. So we did pressure groups. So in the exam, it might ask you about why people join pressure groups, the tactics they use, and pressure groups, why they're effective or maybe not effective in a democracy. So why people join them? Because they want to change the government's opinion about a law or a policy. They want to change a cause. They want to change something they feel passionate about. So they join a pressure group. It might be for animal rights. It might be to reduce the cost of living or to stop building nuclear weapons. Also, people might join them because the more people join pressure groups, the bigger the group, the more effective they are. Look at Greenpeace, massive pressure group. They're successful in raising awareness of environmental issues and the use of oil, perhaps. And also, pressure group people join them because it's a right to do so. So in a democracy, you've got the right to free speech. So joining a pressure group is a good way to exercise your right to protest and the right to free speech. Tactics you use. So demonstrations, marches, petitions, use social media. They might organise websites that advertise their policies, banners, posters on maybe on the side of roads and so on. So pressure group tactics they use is all in my booklet. And why they're effective. Basically, they're good because it's good for democracy. So pressure groups can pressurise the government on a law or a policy. For example, Lawrence Kirk on the A90, there's a campaign for a flyover that's been effective in raising awareness of this issue. Also, if you join a pressure group, in Scotland, the main election is every 4 years. So between that time, joining a pressure group is a good way to challenge a government. So if you want to change a law or policy, if you're passionate about it, then joining a pressure group is a good way, apart from voting in a democracy, and it can be effective. And it's also effective because you could talk about some examples that the media might cover it. So if the media covers a pressure group, it could make it more effective, like social media or TV or in newspapers. Why they're not effective, I've never seen that come up, but you could talk about the fact that pressure groups that use violent tactics, they might, like Just Stop Oil, line the road, they block traffic, They're ignored by the government because they use violent tactics and they're just a nuisance sometimes and they cause like mayhem on roads. Also, class, some pressure groups have too much money or power. It's not very fair. So some groups have less money and less power, they're less effective, and other groups have more power and they're more effective. They know more people. They can spend more money on campaigns, and that's not good. That makes maybe some ineffective. Okay? So, influence, the media, their role, the media in a democracy, why it's so important. Pressure groups, why people join them, the tactics they use to raise awareness of an issue, and pressure groups, why they're effective and maybe not effective. Representation. So MSPs, what do they do to represent people in the constituency, so the area they represent, and what can they do inside the Scottish Parliament to represent people from the area? So in the local area, MSPs have an office. You can contact them, you can visit them, you can email them, phone them, write them letters about key issues. Also, they hold surgeries. So in local communities like Lonscark and St Cyrus, they'll advertise their social media. They might put up posters in libraries about a meeting point called a surgery, where you go along, you speak to an MSP about key issues in the local area, like a lack of transport, a lack of bus services in the Lonscark area. Also, MSPs in the local area can visit businesses or visit schools and find out about problems they're having, maybe in recruiting teachers, maybe in the cost of living. They can visit like maybe businesses. It costs more to buy materials and try to support them in trying to cut costs. Inside the Scottish Parliament, MSPs can do various things. They work on committees. So committees are groups of people who work together to challenge the government on key areas like transport, education, health. They can challenge and question the government and the cabinet and ministers. Also, MSPs can take part during question time every Thursday, First Minister's question time, and ask Johnson any questions about issues in their area, transport, education. And also they can introduce like an idea for a bill. They can also vote on key issues as well. So MSPs, right, you need to know about the job they do in the local area, the constituency, and inside the Scottish Parliament. Make sure you revise that. The next topic of representation is a bit like America. So in America, unlike Congress or in Scottish Parliament, why is there not enough women and minority groups? So women, why is there less representation in Parliament in Scotland? So talk about a lack of role models. Talk about maybe barriers, have children. It's very hard to juggle working in Edinburgh and your home life. Sexism. So some people, some men, still will not vote for a female candidate because they've got outdated attitudes. Minorities in Parliament. Racism, a lack of role models. You could also talk about the fact that maybe a lack of money, a lack of finance to be a candidate makes it difficult. So make sure you revise why in the Scottish Parliament is there not enough women or minorities. This is a lack of representation. And the final bit is committees. So committees is quite a new topic. So a committee in the Scottish Parliament is MSPs who work together in small groups to challenge the government. So MSPs from different parties, Labour, SNP, Conservative, come together and discuss key issues. Transport Committee, Education Committee, they can challenge the government on topics. They can question ministers about key issues. So when you revise committees, revise what they are, how they work, and maybe why they're effective. They're good because parties work together. So MSPs work together to challenge the government, and that's a good thing. Also, the government, if they waste money on like ferries, which was a scandal in building the ferries, they were not working the ferries, were over budget, they can challenge the government on issues like that and the cost of these ferries. Also, committees are good because they've got more time. So they can meet over various hours or days, and they've got a lot of time to look at reports closely. The Scottish Parliament is quite hectic, a lot of debates, quite quick, but committees have more time to get into the nitty-gritty of laws, policies, and challenging the government. Okay? The final topic in Scottish politics is voting systems. So the additional member system is used in elections to the Scottish Parliament. So on May the 7th, for the Scottish Parliament, you vote using AMS. So in the exam, you need to know about what are the key features of AMS, so how does it work? Also, what are the positives and negatives of AMS? So AMS, how does it work? It's proportional. So that means that it's a fairer system that's more balanced to parties who might get votes, but in the UK election don't get seats. But in the Scottish election, because it's fairer, it's proportional, they might get more seats and more power, and that's a good thing. Also, you get 2 votes. The first vote is for a candidate in the local area in your constituency. You vote for one person. And the second vote is for a region, and you vote for a party. So we're in North East Scotland. So 2 votes is good because more choice. You can change your vote. Maybe first vote an SNP candidate. The second vote Labour if you wanted to. That gives you that choice. And that means that there's less wasted votes. AMS, another good thing or key feature is that it helps smaller parties. So the Green Party have power in the Scottish Parliament because of AMS. The Greens get a lot of votes on the second vote on the list, and that's good for the Greens because it gives them power. And in the Scottish Parliament, AMS is good because if you've got more parties in the Scottish Parliament, that's more views, more opinions, and that's good for democracy. So AMS is positive because you get more choice, 2 votes, there's less wasted votes, it's proportional, it's fairer. So for example, if you get half of votes, then you could get close to half of seats in the Parliament. That's a good thing. And it also helps smaller parties to gain power. Like the Green Party have no chance to get a lot of MPs in the UK Parliament. But in the Scottish Parliament, because of AMS, Greens have a good shot at getting some power. That's good. AMS, what's bad about it? Well, one thing that's bad about it is it might create a coalition government. So that means possibly if the winning party gets less than half of the MSPs, then they get a coalition with another party and they work together to run the country. So a coalition is where 2 or more parties are in power. So coalitions might fall out, might disagree over laws. It takes longer to get stuff done, and that might be not good for democracy. Another thing about AMS being bad is that the second vote, right, you vote for a party, but you don't know who you're voting for. The parties have a list of candidates that they rank in order. So when you vote on the second vote, you're voting for a party, but behind the scenes, the parties control who goes on the list and who might get elected. Another thing as well, AMS might cause voter confusion. In UK elections, we've got 1 vote using first past the post for the UK Parliament. AMS is 2 votes, and possibly it might cause a lot of ruined or spoiled ballot papers that are not counted towards the election result. So these last few slides has been a really quick summary about Scottish politics. You've got the revision book, you've got the YouTube channel. I also added revision websites from another school that was shared that are really good. They're on Google Classroom. Okay, take care, and I'll speak to you all soon.